Hello and welcome to the Bend Like Bamboo Resilience Show. To bend like bamboo is to bend with flexibility, and this is how we can be more adaptable in times of change. And on my show, I get to interview very special guests, and today I'm so pleased to welcome the lovely Louise Carrigg. Hello, welcome to the
Hi,
show.
Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited about today's interview and talking to you, but please let me introduce you properly. Louise is the director of Barry Plant Heathmont and Ringwood, and Louise's vision is to deliver the ultimate in customer service with a trustworthy and friendly approach. Louise leaves both vendors and buyers surprised that their real estate experience can be positive and happy. I love it. In July of 2014, Louise and her husband Chris bought the Barry Plant Heathmont business and enjoyed taking the business to a new level and was awarded in 2015 at the Barry Plant Awards for Excellence for the office with the largest increase in sales. In December 2016, they took over the Ringwood office of Barry Plant and have made great progress in building a new team of professionals, gaining a strong market share position. Wow, Louise, you're a go-getter.
Oh, it makes me sound the super busy woman.
You are, and you are very driven. And, that's what I love about you. And I think that we're going to have so much juicy stuff to talk about on today's show.
Yeah.
Why are you passionate about real estate?
Oh gosh, I think I sort of fell into real estate, funnily enough, after a career in sort of communications and public relations sort of style work. And real estate sort of brought me, when I went into real estate, I was in this really domestic bliss place.
Yeah.
And it was just a perfect connection to then go into real estate and get that business drive back. And also local within my own community. I've always been a big community focused person. I love working, with people around me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, that's
Mm,
beautiful. Let's dive in. What does
okay.
resilience mean to you?
I have thought about this question a lot, and not just recently, actually. I think uh, the word resilience, I think I actually struggled with the word resilience when I first sort of started hearing it more consistently, especially with having two young children. You'd hear things like, oh, we need to make our kids more resilient. And for a long time I'm thinking, well, what actually is that? And over the last probably year, I've really delved into it for myself personally, and also, people around me. And it's made me, for me at the moment, resilience is about growth and self-awareness,
Mm,
so I can so that I can be more resilient. I think so, but I think the resilience journey is so different at different stages of your life for different people.
yeah,
So
totally.
it's one word, but it's just so much.
Yeah.
um my sister, who is mildly intellectually disabled and mental health illnesses, I look at resilience when I look at her and go, well, a lot of the time she appears to be a train wreck, but
Yeah.
she's also one of the most resilient people I think I will ever know.
It's a matter
um,
of perspective, isn't it?
it is definitely a matter of perspective. For me, probably coming through a phase recently where I haven't felt my own, strength, and the resilience for me recently has been about learning and about,
Mm,
peeling back, all of these layers of issues that has then led me to go, oh, actually, I am and can be very resilient.
absolutely.
Mm.
Would you love to share something that sort of displays that of something you've had to overcome? Is there something that you want to talk about today?
I suppose probably just sticking with more recently, not really recently, but I think for me, going through, I'll call it an anxiety building and then
Mm-hmm.
sort of reaching a crescendo, and
Mm,
then really, really struggling with wanting to recover from that, but really not knowing how.
yeah.
And then having to go, okay, this does feel like a rock bottom moment, and how am I going to get myself out of it?
Yeah, that's massive. I'm
Um,
sure a lot of people go through anxiety, and if they haven't typically in their lives, maybe even circumstantially, what we've all gone through in 2020, maybe that's evoked anxiety. So this is a great thing to talk about.
yeah. So for me, the whole COVID situation has actually given me a genuine opportunity that, funnily enough, I had been looking for very, very strongly, um, to get the space that I've needed to be able to move on from that,
Mm,
or to work out where that anxiety comes from. And that's a lot of the work, obviously, I've been doing with you, which has been amazing.
yeah,
Um,
good.
but that the space has really, the COVID, lockdowns have really given me that space. And so I was able to go, okay, what am I going to do to make the most of this? Before COVID, I was already heading in this direction. I knew I needed some change, some help. I don't know what I was looking for, but I knew I needed help.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you think stopped you prior to COVID and lockdown and everything? What do you think stopped you from what and stopping and whatever COVID gave you the opportunity for?
Yeah.
Why do you think we don't do that until something forces us to stop? What stopped
Well,
you?
I think I've learnt for myself a couple of massive things.
Yeah.
Um, and I've told you before that I'm trying to take the word busy out of my life.
Yes.
And that is because I think genuinely we're on this um, busy path of distraction, and we're filling this moment, and we're doing these sports, and we're taking the kids here, and we're,
Yeah.
we're achieving in our work.
Yeah.
And, there's this constant, need for achievement. And we achieve it. I've achieved amazing things, and I'm super proud of that.
Yeah.
But I have not stopped and had space around me, around my,
Yeah.
I have not self-cared properly for years.
Yeah.
I really ran myself into the ground in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard when as the anxiety grows, you sort of lose touch with where it's coming from, I think. So
Yeah.
the space has given me a chance to, okay, where is actually this coming from for me?
Good.
Um, so it was just like that constant, um, what do you call it? Just the wheel that just keeps
Yeah,
turning.
the rat race, the wheel. And,
Yeah,
we become human doers rather than human beings. And then
correct.
being forced to stop. For me, before COVID, it was being paralyzed and I had no choice but to lie in my bed, in four white walls. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was forced to stop. And only then did I realize what like a slower mind felt like, and then what that led to, and
Yes.
the reconciliation that can go on when you give yourself space, and then therefore creativity is born out of boredom, I guess,
Mm,
to
mm,
be able to constructively and creatively and innovatively think
yeah.
of new ways of being in your life. Who do we want to be now?
Mm,
What's my anxiety about? Why don't I self-care? What stops me from looking after myself that then leads to more anxiety anyway?
exactly. And I think when you've potentially got this achieving personality, there's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
I've probably run half my life on adrenaline, but even as a child, I was constantly organizing something or doing, but I was also
Yeah.
the child that would go and lie on the trampoline and stare up into the sky for
Yeah.
hours on end and write a poem here or there. And I
Cool.
think as I got older and more anxious and more busy,
Yeah.
I just felt like I'd lost that connection. And it's funny seeing, since I've been looking at myself and, going back over a few things,
Mm.
as a child, I was a camper, and then my most favorite thing of all was just sitting at a campsite,
Yeah.
just looking out at the view.
Yeah.
And I grew up with that, like all. And it's not like we don't do that anymore, but it's it's not enough of it to
Yes.
balance out the
Yes.
go go go.
Yes.
Um, well, when I say there's not enough of it, I've now got to. I know that it's now truly my responsibility and my desire to make sure that I go and get those
That
things.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So I've
What?
learned a lot over the last
Yes.
while.
Well, actually,
Mm,
so what is it that you'll do probably moving forward over the next few months, November and December, to
mm,
find that connection now that you've had a chance to stop and reset and have more time, if we're all going to go back to work and then we're going to get busy again, how will you do that?
So I've got some really, really, it's interesting as an anxious person, you do like to control most things in your life and love a schedule, and I love a schedule.
Yeah.
So I've got to balance out that a little bit, but we're back at work now, which is amazing. I'm so happy with that.
Yes.
And not at our offices, but at least we're out with people.
Yes.
I've tried to corral, a couple of more active days for work into one part of the week and then have a breather day.
Great.
Today I went for a bike ride and a picnic lunch just to break up my week.
Cool.
And I felt it. I'd felt the tension and the activeness rising. And then I went out into nature. I did that and it came back down again. And then I could go into the rest of my week. And then just really simple things that obviously we should all do more of. I've locked in Monday night bath night.
Love it.
Things in my week that I can control and say yes to, and don't let them. And real estate's really tough. You are at people's beck and call.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And I think as you get through the years of being in real estate, at the start you go, you have to do that. You have to say yes. We're in a competitive industry. If we say no, we might lose. And at the same time, you sort of get a bit hardened because you get knockbacks, and so you feel like you have to sort of cope with that a bit better. But it plays on other parts of your emotions as well, or you push it down. I'm not really sure exactly, but I'd love, and I with my younger team, I'd like the journey to be a little bit different for them. I'd like to be able to make them more aware of these things.
Yes. Well,
in the earlier stages of their career.
Yeah. Well, you could probably integrate this self-care program you're doing for yourself, which you've got to start with yourself, into, how you guys have meetings at work. Maybe sometimes you have nature meetings or walking around the block meetings or connection meetings.
Yeah. One-on-one meetings where you're talking at a different level than in a group environment, I think too is really important.
Totally.
Trying to create an honest, a freeing environment to speak.
Talk to me, how does it feel when you are in the amongst the darkest, when you feel really anxious and you feel like you're at your lowest point? What does that feel like for you? How are you performing at work and how are you treating yourself?
I think on a physical level, it can feel quite, when it's bad, it can feel quite frightening.
Yes.
So you are genuinely feeling a fear of, and you don't even 100% know where it's coming from. But then I think the more common sort of constant one is you actually feel really lonely.
Yes.
Yeah, and yet you seem to lose. That's the other thing that I've learned is that when I feel like that and I sense that loneliness, I have to be able to verbalize it to somebody to break it.
Yes.
But you have the tendency to hide. So you just, you sit back in your loneliness.
Yes.
And you just keep trying to make it pass.
And you feel more disconnected and then get more in your head and then out of your heart. And it's just a vicious cycle,
Correct.
Isn't it?
Whereas, I think, and that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned with my work with you is that I've had this natural ability to drive and to be achieving, but I haven't been able to let other people help me with a lot of things.
Yes.
Because in my family, especially, I've always been the helper, the one that's trying to, work with things. And it has stopped me from being able to accept help from other people, which has been a massive learning for me to realize that that's how I've actually,
identified
slowly. Yeah. So now that I know what that is, I'm so much more open to going, oh, well, you can help me with that, or I can tell you that and feel safe.
Yes.
And then move through it so much faster.
Exactly. And I think whenever we're trying to, change aspects of ourselves and our lives, just what you said right then was it's now in your awareness. And then you can catch yourself to take more responsibility in terms of, so my model of change is reassess with awareness, then you can take responsibility and then you can rewire your brain. So first of all, you've got to be aware of what you're doing and when you're doing it. And then you can go, oh, only then is it a choice. And you
Yes.
go, oh, I can
Yeah.
choose to be this way or that way. That's what I mean by responsibility is then you can take responsibility to make the changes you need to make. Because someone like you is very responsible, like very responsible, but there's other dimensions of responsibility. I think sometimes we don't take responsibility for ourselves with self-care, with learning to put ourselves first, knowing how to receive help. That's also responsibility.
It is 100%.
Yeah. And then we can rewire the brain and reset our habits and catch yourself. And that's why I use a wristband or any prop that reminds you to catch yourself in those moments. I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. And that's usually also a time when you can catch yourself when you're thinking of the past or you're overanalyzing the future too much and you're not being in the moment, which is our most creative state.
Which is really what, you know, I had been craving for. Is to go back to that creative state. I knew it was out there somewhere. I just couldn't tap into it.
It's like, how do I get it? Yeah, I
how
know
do I
how I
get
want
there?
to feel. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So how have you been getting there?
Am I there yet? I'm a work in progress.
You have come so far, and you're right. Every day you are there. And then you're learning more and more every day. But well, what is, I guess the better question to ask is, what is it that happens in your day that makes you more aware?
Look, I think more aware. It's the awareness is coming to me so much faster now that acceptance was the start of that. Just so much, just more, just acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm really I sense in the day to day. Well, I'm still in my quest I'm loving journaling. Journaling, I think and it's ironic because I journaled as a kid obsessively.
Great.
My dear diary was probably my best friend in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I've really, really easily got back into that recently, and it's been fabulous. I'm still trying. I'm really quite fascinated by meditation. I'm really, really trying hard. Got to try not to put too much pressure on myself.
Yes.
Because it does feel hard sometimes, meditation.
Oh, it is. It's really hard sometimes, particularly or even just on a normal day versus after you've had a really good one and then you try and have a really good one again and you can't capture that moment. There's so many different reasons why it's hard. But I think even just giving it a go every day, like the same way that we would wash your body, you know, washing the mind and just emptying it is still a great
way. And I found that even in the middle of the day when I sense, and this is again the awareness, being able to go, okay, don't let it stay there. Just go and quickly deal with it. And I think meditation can give you that power really fast, which has been a really good lesson for me as well. So that's probably like day to day. Has been really good.
And you've really ramped up your self-care, haven't you?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I have.
Good.
Yeah, and that's just something that unfortunately we just. I think many of us just don't prioritize, which is so because it feels wonderful. I'm reading a lot more.
Yes.
And I'm just loving that as part, because I used to read a lot and I'd lost a lot of that because I just didn't prioritize the time to set aside for it. And I think again, that's the awareness. And again, thanks to COVID, I've had the opportunity, the space to go, well, you don't have these other busy things going on. So it has given, and now I've just got to make sure I take that with me into
it into this next phase.
But I feel really confident about that because I've done the
hard yards.
I've got the skill now. I know what that needs to be done. I've got the mindset stuff going. So I feel like I've got a good chance of making it.
How you start your day is what will remind you.
Yeah.
So start of day. I love it. So I guess we're now moving into like your turning point. So I know that, you know, you've had, you know, the struggles of, you know, how it feels when you feel really anxious, you're not looking after yourself and you shut down, and then we get in our heads and we get more and more busy and we become doers instead of human beings. What was your turning point where you really felt like you started to peel back the layers and you started to bring in more awareness? Like, was it a gradual thing, or was there a turning point and a moment of choice for you?
I think that it's been probably quite agonizingly long, to be honest. And I don't
Yeah.
know why it took so long.
Yeah.
So I'd say gradual,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I definitely felt a turning point where it was full acceptance.
Yes.
That was it for me. It was like, I don't know what I was fighting, why I was fighting it, but there was just this switch that went, it was a very like, hang on, just, this is you, don't fight this.
Yes.
Just go. So stop trying to fix this, just try and go forward, outwards, upwards, which ironically you do have to go, you've got to delve in, but I don't know, it just was a different perspective. It was like a bit of a switch, and it was it got a little bit worse after that. Once I had like the anxiety side got a little bit worse, but then once it cleared, there was this clearer voice, this clearer vision.
Sometimes those moments, they come out of grace. You can't find those moments. It's like you've been doing the work, you've been exploring and bringing into your awareness and searching and really working on yourself. And then it kind of sometimes just rises up out of nowhere, these moments and realizations.
Yeah. And you do sometimes have to, I've felt that I've had to leave a few things aside.
Yeah.
Not I don't want to say neglect them, because it's not full neglect.
Yeah.
But I've had to go, like with my sister, I manage her. My sister is mildly intellectually disabled and has mental health. She's on an NDIS plan, and I self-manage her plan. So it's a big job. It's a big responsibility. And it can be very emotionally challenging as well.
Yeah.
She's an interesting cat. We love her. But over the last couple of months, I've, with COVID and the challenges that, she lives alone, like it had gotten really, really full on.
Yes.
And there was a point where I thought, you know what, this is going to tip me over. I've got to step away a little bit and make that choice as well. Yeah. Because I know at the end of the day, I can't help her if I'm a mess. Yeah,
that's right. You've got to put your mask on first, don't you?
Yes. So and that has actually worked really well. And now I'm able to step back in and get more active. And
this is why self-care is so important.
So important.
And if it's hard to receive in your life at the moment, whoever's listening, like then, maybe you'd see it from that new perspective of, but then I can actually be there for others more, and I can be, I can be of better service if I actually am ramping up my self-care.
I think that's a really good way to try and identify with it, because this is how I felt for a long time, is that you've got all of these jobs, but you don't feel like you're doing anything well.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're feeling that there's too much going on, you're not self-caring.
That's the best thing you've ever, like that's you've down. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Like if you feel like you've got your hands in all of these pies and nothing is really feeling awesome.
Yeah.
Then there needs to be some sort of reassessment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me, how is your life better now, having gone through, overcoming anxiety?
It feels a lot lighter. I actually feel lighter.
Great.
I've been out at meetings, obviously, recently with, us being able to return to work and to speak with clients. And I feel like I'm able to speak with more clarity.
Yeah.
Or I can, this sounds a bit weird, but I can hear what I'm saying properly.
I love that.
Yeah. Whereas I think that I was constantly distracted.
Yeah.
Even though I was probably talking fine, but I wasn't really in it. Whereas now I'm just so much more
connected in your body, feeling, because we don't like to do that when we're traumatizing ourselves. We like to disconnect from our body.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. You don't hear yourself. You don't feel yourself. You don't hear the whispers. You don't feel the body signs that are telling you, no, this way, move this way, going the wrong way.
Yeah. And I think if you work in a job where you're dealing with a lot of people, and in real estate you're dealing with people going through potentially really big things in their lives, they tend to be a little bit stressy, and so you are really focused on that. But it can sometimes, when you step away from that and come back to your family environment or your friend environment, can make you feel a little bit more detached, because how much more have you got to give?
Yeah.
Like, so, I've and Chris, my husband, he's like sometimes like, are we talking tonight? Like, or have you talked too much today?
Yeah.
You know, like, because there's like, oh wow, I feel really heavy with that conversation that I've had all day long. But now I don't feel like that at the moment. I feel like that's just lightened up, and I'm able to differentiate between, well, that's the work energy and this is the home energy.
I love that. And on that, how do you think that will change how you show up at work with all these personal transformations that you've just been through?
Well, on a very, very simple level, I'm just going to like work more. You know,
Yeah.
I've always loved my work. Whatever I've done, I've loved. And I haven't loved it in this state. You know, when you're bombarded with, you know, anxiety and for all different reasons, it's hard to enjoy stuff. And I think if you see somebody
Exactly.
working and they're enjoying it, you're like, oh, she's a happy worker.
Do you know,
So
you've nailed it. Like that's absolutely right. You know, I just finished Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and the very last chapter, it was so inspiring. His take on, you know, coming out of doing into just being is acceptance, then applying enjoyment again into your life, exactly what you just said. And then from that comes enthusiasm.
Yes.
When you apply the enjoyment to your goal, because we are supposed to use our mind, but through our hearts, not through the head. And then the mind is very useful then. It should be the slave, not the master, the mind. It should be not the slave, but it should be the servant.
The servant, yeah.
Better word. Not the master. And then when we come through our hearts, so this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to apply, and all of us, we're going to apply this new enjoyment of slowing down and actually coming from our heart space, deciding what makes me happy, what brings me joy. And then we're going to translate this personal transformation across into our workplace, which is going to allow us to be more in enjoyment. And that's going to create enthusiasm. That's how we manifest.
Yep. It's simple.
I love it. It's simple. Accept,
simple.
enjoyment, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what's the main thing? If there was one main thing you've learned, what would it be?
One main thing I've learned. That's tough, because I just feel like there's so many different layers there. I think probably I don't know whether I've learned it, but I've discovered, I feel passionate about it.
Yeah.
Is that people need help.
Yeah.
Like, I think that if you're sitting there thinking, I need help, you have to somehow, and I think this is tough, find a way to find it where and hopefully, you know, people talking more and listening more to this type of thing and whatever will make that more clear. Because I think that, you know, at all, and back to the resilience thing, at all different ages, at all different stages, we're changing, we're evolving.
We are.
And sometimes you just need support. There's things that are tough, and you need somebody else to sort of slap you out of it, or in a gentle
and
sense.
Guide you and go,
you.
And then point out what it is that you might want to look at and you know, because we suppress things that we don't want to look at. And so we do need assistance of have a look at this shadow aspect of yourself that's really, you know, that you're burying. And that is so true. And I think that having more conversations every day with our colleagues can be a way to help.
It can be. That's it. Yeah. I think we all need to, and we're all different. So that's the other thing, full acceptance of all the differences.
Allow people to just be who they are and react in the way that they are, and just hold the space for them. Just being. Sometimes not reacting can be the best thing you can do. Yeah.
And also just, you know, with the relationships that you have. And it's interesting because I've always been, especially in my work life, really, and working with a team, is you go, okay, let's look at everybody's individual strengths and weaknesses. And you're fully accepting of them. Okay, you're not good at paperwork, but you're awesome at, you know, selling a property or whatever. Yeah. But personally, do you really, how good are we at it? Like, are we really looking at it? And also looking at how different somebody else, like our main relationships. My husband and I are almost like complete opposite personalities.
Yeah.
So how do you fully accept that of each other and look at it properly and work with
that. Yeah. Integrate and enjoy that. And
Well,
he's perfect. I mean, my twin and I are the same. So like we're perfect in that we mirror with it. We shine stuff on each other that, Yeah, it is a process of, I'm total acceptance, total not needing people to be a certain way because they're not like you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
hard.
yeah. But
And
also having the courage to be yourself up against somebody who is completely different to you. And
yes.
that's a cool thing, not a bad thing.
And we all see the world totally differently. You know, people on one side of the earth see the sun rising, and then, but at the same time, on the other side of the earth, the sun is setting, and both those realities are real. But then, if you were to take yourself out into space, the sun is not even rising or setting at all. It's just shining constantly. Matter of perspective, and they're all realities that exist. So, if we can see it in that way, that your reality and my reality, we all see the world in our own way, and they are all realities that can coexist with
Mm,
true acceptance.
exactly.
What a beautiful way to end the show. I mean, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or any special tips to help that helps you to be resilient?
I think we've covered lots.
I think that was a
Um,
beautiful way to end, and a matter of perspective and acceptance.
yeah. Thanks for having me
Beautiful.
today.
Oh, Louise, it was an absolute pleasure. I loved it, and thank you for coming on. And
You're most welcome.
it was very
Thanks.
juicy.
Your work really is very inspirational.
Thank you.
Um,
That means a lot.
yeah, it's been wonderful for me, and I'm sure wonderful for many others. So
Thank you.
thank you,
Oh,
genuinely.
my my absolute pleasure, from my heart to yours. And thank you for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening. And my intention for the show is to help to inspire you that no matter what you are going through, you can overcome it and discover what you are made of. See you guys next week.